It's an essay I wrote years and years ago. It's called Twists and Turns. This is a very encouraging story. It's to inspire people to just continue on to do what they need to do. Especially if you got a positive foot in the door. For instance, if you're in school, I know sometimes it can get frustrating with jobs and life, and you feel like you should be doing other things, and sometimes you feel like you're wasting your time. But once you get your foot in the door to something positive, I just want to encourage you to do all that you can do, to do the best that you can do. This is a story about some people that I actually know. This is a story that's very close to my heart. I am from Florida, so I was able to visualize the scenery of things in this. But just take a listen. It's called Twists and Turns. It was a hot, withering summer in 2001, and the frequent showers felt like mist instead of rain in the Miami's August summer heat. Faith waved goodbye to her sister Eve jumped in her boyfriend's ice bouncing sky blue 1982 Cadillac. Those silver plated rims cost more than his entire car. The beat of the music Outcast vibrated even louder as Eve got in the passenger side and blew kisses at Faith and the love of her life, her daughter July. Eve's curly black waves flew in the wind, and Faith remembered her caramel dimples that elated in her smile. Eve wishes that she could have captured that moment in time in a capsule, because that day their lives would be changed forever. Faith sat in the chair on the porch with 3-year-old July in her lap. The hot pink colored stucco house was covered with green mold and moss that looked like a box of Pepto Bismol. But the house was left to them by their grandmother, with a broken porch, stucco that was chipping, and a rotten roof. Well, that would have to do until they could do better. But one thing they did love was the mangoes. They had 3 big mango trees in their backyard, and if nothing else, they could always have mangoes. Eve was the brilliant heroine in the family after their grandmother died. Their grandmother was left to take care of them after their parents actually deserted them. So when their grandmother died, Eve raised Faith as her own while going to Miami University on a full scholarship, and her internship paid the bills. Eve worked 2 jobs, went to school full time, and walked or caught the bus most places unless her baby daddy could give her a ride. The least Faith could do was babysit her niece while Eve was assuring their future. If only Faith could convince Eve to get rid of that no good Ice, Eve's baby daddy. Ice was her man, and Eve wasn't having it. Life is amazing, especially how it suddenly changes. Faith always sat on the porch with July in her lap in the evenings, waiting for Eve to come home in between one of those jobs she had. But that night was somehow different. You ever got that eerie feeling that something just wasn't quite right? While sitting on the porch, Faith only saw a flash of Eve and Ice car racing in his blue caddy that was on fire, hurling down the neighborhood streets. And she stood up as she heard the police sirens that outblasted the musical beats of Outkast. The police cars then surrounded Ice, and sparks flickered from his rims as the car flipped 3 times and then crashed into a tree. Ice and Eve climbed out of the window of that car, reaching for the earth. But as they dragged their bodies out of the car, guns were drawn to their heads, and they crept through the broken glass that was mixed with Heineken smashed bottles on the streets. The car exploded only a few minutes later. Unfortunately, the black streets was also covered with snow, not from the sky, but from the 5 kilos of cocaine that flew out of the trunk as the car twirled in the air and smashed to the ground. Time stopped that day. The world was spinning at an enormous speed, but Faith stood on the porch in her long black braids to her waist, yellow short shorts, tank top, and flip flops, frozen in time like a canary with a broken wing that had just seen a black cat but yet could not fly away. Eve called Faith 3 days later and told her that she would be taking a deal for 5 years at a prison 5 hours away. Faith was disillusioned. How was she going to take care of herself and July? But she had to. She had to because July was family and her sister had taken care of her all those years. All those years without a care in the world. But now the song had changed from a soulful melody to an explicit rap version. Later that week, Faith received a letter from her sister. And like Eve, just like Eve, she did not once mention her agony or fights with the other inmates every night to keep her virtue. Her words in that letter, underlined, was take care of my daughter, July. And those words ended with an exclamation mark. She went on to say in her letter, Faith, I know life has changed for you drastically, unexpectedly. Maybe I should have made you do more or be more. Maybe I should have let you take some of the load. But now you got to step up because life now is more than just about you. It's about July. And just like I did, you do what you have to do to make it. The only thing is, I want you to make better choices than I did in life and in men. And I want your choice to have long-term positive effects, not just a solution for the moment that would no doubt have you as my future cellmate. I know this may seem far-fetched, but I was so close. So close. I was making it work. And if I would have just finished college, I know things would have been different for all of us. Faith, have you ever thought about it or ever considered? Faith, go to college. College. Faith laughed as she put down the letter. You see, Faith barely made it out of high school. College was the last thing on her mind. Yet she did take her sister's advice. She applied for college, and to her surprise, she got in. And the financial aid did help pay some of the bills for a little while. Still, with no academic plan, her grades began to fail, and the only motivation was when she would put pigtails and beaded braids in her niece's hair and catch a glimpse of her niece's smile. Her niece's smile had the same dimples as her sister Eve, and for just a moment, she saw her reflection. Then that's when Faith remembered her responsibilities. After 1 year, Faith was able to visit Eve in the Female Correctional Institute. As she sat behind the glass wall staring at Eve, she saw the black rings around her eyes and bruises on her face. You look awful, Faith told her sister as she picked up a plastic phone. Eve replied, well, you ain't no Beyonce yourself. At least I got an excuse. They both just laughed. How's my July? Eve asked. It was then that Faith looked around at the beige walls, and the only vibrant color in the room was the bright orange jumpsuit that Eve wore and the matching silver chains instead of the silver bangles that she used to wear that went all the way up her arm. But that was when she was free. She's beautiful, Faith replied. And how's college? Eve asked. The teachers and the counselor said that I should give up and that I'm not what they call a college material. And my grades, girl, they are proving them right. Then all of a sudden, Eve stood up and smashed her face and her fist against the glass as if she wanted to break through and shake some sense into her sister. Those people don't know who you really are. They don't know your story. As she sat down and she looked at me with those light brown eyes and caramel dimples, I didn't know whether or not she was talking about me or herself. She continued, they don't know you, so how dare you take their words to your heart? But I know your story, she said. I know that you walk to work every morning and catch the city bus to school. I know that you are conscious about smelling like church's chicken in the class because you don't have time to change your clothes after work. I also know that you go to the food bank on Saturdays at the church and get food and bathe at Pookie House because you don't have hot water. Faith, I know your story. But sweetie, don't you want to change your story? Not for me or even for July, but for yourself. I'm here locked up in this prison, chained. But you got a chance to break out of that financial prison that is out there in that world by using your education. God has already set up the pieces for you to play the game. Can't you see that? Don't you dare let the foolishness in this world have your mind so twisted that you lose your focus. You keep your mind in the game. Finally, after Faith left the prison, she began to start thinking a little differently. She eventually realized that she had to learn how to become a student just like she learned mathematics, science, history, or anything else. It wasn't easy sitting in the classes, always thinking about other things that she needed to do and other places that she wanted to be. However, she kept her mind in the game. She later graduated from college with a degree in education. She taught middle school for a while and then obtained her master's. The day Faith received her master's degree was so sweet because Eve was also released from prison a few days earlier, and they celebrated as a family. Faith still doesn't know how she ended up teaching college. Oh, yes, she does remember. She kept her mind in the game, and that totally changed her story.